All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that welcome. Thank you guys for having me. It is a pleasure for me to talk to you guys today about self-care. All you teachers from Pakistan, I hope that you can listen in, that you can join. I know you're having bad weather now, but if you can, just put your comments in the comment box as we go along. And when I'm finished, then we'll go over all the comments that you have. All right, so let me share my screen so that we can start the proceedings. All right, everyone can see the screen. Okay. All right, so today my topic is on self-care for teachers. My name is Venice Irving. I am CEO of Happy Teachers, and I am here representing Jamaica. All right, so I just wanted to go through the list of things that we're going to talk about today. On our agenda, we have a definition of self-care that I will talk about. We're going to look at the 7 pillars of self-care. We're also going to look at the scientific method that is called positive psychology. We're going to look at a definition for that. And also, we're going to look at some research and the findings for those research that talks about the impact of teachers' well-being on students' learning. In addition, we're going to talk about how we can put self-care into this. We're going to summarize the presentation by looking at key takeaways and reflection questions. So let's get started. Now, the first picture I have for you today is this one, right here on your screen. And I want you to think about the hidden meanings that are in the picture. Now, please reflect on these questions. What is the lady doing? How is she coping with this situation? Is she taking care of herself? Who does she remind you of? All right. So Ariana Hutton said, the only predictable thing for us all is unpredictability. And therefore, we need strategies on how to cope as teachers during these unpredictable times. Now, self-care is defined by Reading as an activity that restores, sustains, and improves health. Newell continues, et al. Continues, that self-care is strategies used to maintain our personal, emotional, and spiritual needs while attending to the needs of others. So self-care for you may look like these statements. I feel balanced and supported. I have opportunities to learn and advance in my career. I have freedom to use my creativity to help my students succeed. I am fairly compensated. I have a network of support to help me overcome challenges. Also, self-care can sometimes look like these: protecting your energy against people who threaten your sanity, turning your phone off, sleeping. Self-care can just look like minding your own business, making tough decisions because they are healthy for you, creating space for things that bring you joy, spending less time with draining people, saying yes to things despite your anxiety, and experiencing things alone instead of waiting for the right people to come along and join you. Now let us look at the 7 pillars of self-care. You have 1, knowledge and health literacy. 2, mental well-being, self-awareness and agency. 3, physical activity. 4, healthy eating. 5, risk avoidance. 6, good hygiene. And 7, rational use of products and services. Now, self-care is underpinned by these 7 different pillars. These pillars are not independent of each other, but they work together in combination to result in physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and professional well-being. The World Health Organization identified burnout as a medical crisis affecting people even before this pandemic. The truth is, we were living our lives in a breathless, frantic way, trying to keep up with the newest thing on social media, just to let ourselves feel like we won't be disconnected to the world. When a researcher described how the being has become increasingly significant since the 1980s. It has now moved from a focus on economic well-being, physical health, women's health, and children's health, to now it's focusing more now on an individualized responsibility for well-being. So self-care is, just like you heard it just now, self. It is an individualized way of taking care of yourself. It's a responsibility that you have for yourself, for your own well-being. Farber, another researcher, estimated that between 5 to 20% of United States teachers are burnt out, and the significance of that is that the teachers take the stress and the burnout to the classroom, and that results in low morale for the students. It prevents attainment of educational objectives. It increases turnover. And of course, it provides an unfavorable study climate. Turner and Thecklin conducted research in schools across Australia in 2019 on how to use positive psychology, which is really a self-care practice, to improve teachers' well-being and its effects on students' learning. I want to talk a little bit more about that particular research that they did in Australia. But before I look at those findings, let me tell you what positive psychology is. Peterson defines positive psychology as the scientific study of what makes life most worth living. He continues to say, positive psychology is a scientific approach to studying human thoughts, feelings, and behavior with a focus on strengths instead of weaknesses. So, when Turner and Thecklin did the research in Australia, they found quite interesting findings from the research. Now, it is on this premise that they postulate that teachers who intentionally use positive psychology in the classroom have a sense of calm and positiveness, and they take that to the classroom. Now, as you can see on your screen, I have a picture of me and a student of mine when I was teaching in Asia. That student, when I first started teaching her, was quite shy and reserved. But I used the positive psychology strategies in the classroom, and I helped her to become more confident and more self-aware in the class as she spoke English. Teachers in the study reported feeling less stressed and more relaxed in the classroom. I observed that reflecting on positive psychology strategies while doing self-care helped me also to reflect on the positive aspects of my teaching practice. This enhanced my sense of accomplishment and enabled the students to feel more relaxed in the classroom. Another finding that Turner and Thecklin found was teachers reportedly spent more one-on-one time with their students because they wanted to make the students feel, have a sense of authentic connection with their teachers. This study of authentic connection resulted in a better relationship with the students, of course, understanding your students' needs and concerns. Teachers also noticed that the one-on-one time that was spent with them resulted in improvement of the students' work and confidence. Now, I illustrated that by these pictures here of me spending time with my students when I was teaching English abroad. On my right, for you on your left, I was here with a group of my students, and we actually traveled all around Taiwan. That's where I was based. And we just took a weekend and traveled all around Taiwan on a bus. It was one of the most exciting times I've had experiencing with the students, and I'm sure they would say the same. I found that when I focused on my relationships with my students, they performed better academically, their confidence increased, they took more risks in the classroom by speaking out more, they asked more questions, and they even volunteered to share work with their classmates and to go up and do more work on the classroom board and so forth. Another finding that Turner and Seckling found was positive feedback to the students. Teachers who practiced positive psychology as strategies for self-care more consciously looked for positive aspects in their students and gave their students more positive feedback about their work. Now, this boosted students' morale. Here is this illustration of me handing a certificate to my student for high academic achievement. In addition to all of this, once you have taught and once you have focused on your positive psychology strategies, you can now embed them into your lesson content. Teachers became less focused on the set curriculum and more focused on making lessons deeper and more meaningful, engaging, and enjoyable for students. To illustrate this, here is a picture of my colleagues teaching a class with a group of children. Now, instead of focusing on grammatical structures and pronunciation drilling, what my colleagues did was we used things like songs and stories to showcase the lesson content and to allow the students to get an authentic connection to the lesson. We noticed that the students became more engaged and enjoyed the learning process more. They actually enjoyed coming to class. Another one is classrooms as a partnership. We use the classroom as a partnership with our students. Results from the study reveal that classrooms often become more of a partnership between teachers and students as the teachers sought to empower their students by giving them a greater voice in the classroom. This included leading them into student-directed activities. This is illustrated by the picture that I have here of myself. I was dancing with a student. I think we were doing a cultural lesson and we were showing the dances of different cultures. You can see the excitement on the student's face as he danced with me. Teachers who include students in the lessons, their ideas, their feedback, and their interests often makes the student feel welcome and relaxed in the class. Teachers are also often surprised at the amount of work that the students are willing to take on just because they are feeling more engaged in the classroom. I use this dance illustration to to showcase rather the agency that I used in the classroom and that I allowed my students to have, so that they can make important decisions, they can drive their own learning, and of course become more independent in the class. And the last one I wanted to look at was changes in the students' behavior and attitude. Teachers in the study reported that their students became calmer in the class, They were more engaged with learning, and some students completed more work. In the picture here, I was engaging my otherwise shy and reserved students, but as we did different student-directed activities, their personality shone through, and they became more relaxed and enjoyed the class more. In addition to all of these findings, research shows that when school leaders encourage teachers to do self-care often and on a daily basis, there is an overall boost in confidence, not only with the teachers, but also with the students. School leaders should therefore ensure that there is a library of social and emotional self-care resources embedded within their curriculum for their teachers. Now, let us see how we can put self-care into practice. Many times, the way we take care of ourselves will take on a form of an artistic expression. The creative activities that you can do include painting using watercolors, freely using clay or Play-Doh to sculpt a sculpture, playing with an instrument, creating your own vision board with magazines, of course, completing coloring pages. In addition, you can create two masks. You can actually have one mask that represents who you are right now, and then another mask that will represent you sometime in the future at a point where you are happy, satisfied, and confident because you've used self-care strategies. You can also create a gratitude tree. And you can just use a simple mason jar and put the different, tree sticks in there and stick on different gratitude papers on there. And as you pass every day, you look and reflect on all the things you are grateful for. In addition to these strategies, you can also do journaling. Many of my friends have a journal book, right, that they put things that they are thankful for each day. And they update this book weekly, daily, sometimes monthly. They talk about goals and plans and objectives that they have, not only for their career and professional upgrading, but also for their own personal, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Some things you can write in your journals are, I feel most alive when, I feel most like myself when, I am grateful for, my favorite thing about myself is, the work I must do for my soul to feel fulfilled is. So get a journal book, answer these questions below, write down a list of guiding principles, guiding values that you live by, and add these as you go along. As you get older, your values change. Sometimes you take out some values, sometimes you add on some. So as you get older, as you change within your profession and within your family, you can add on to these values. Also create a say no list, meaning there are certain things that you must not do in order for you to be taking care of yourself. And these may be self-care non-negotiables. These may be small adjustments that you decide you're not going to make because you must take care of yourself. You can also make a yes list. So you can have two lists, one for no, meaning the things you're not going to be doing, and the things for yes, the things that you must do in order to take care of yourself. What things are life-giving and what should be absorbed into your life? Now, other things you can put into self-care practice is connecting with nature. Now, being immersed in nature can be incredibly healing. Some activities to connect with nature include a simple walk in the park, taking the activity that you usually do indoors to the outdoors. So you can go to the park and read, journal, you can eat outside, meditate outside, you can cultivate your garden or volunteer at a community garden. And if the weather is poor, you can take your nature indoors and have an indoor garden. Additional practices include completing something as simple as a puzzle, or taking a 30-minute nap, trying a new recipe in the kitchen, or baking your favorite dessert, walking your dog, or watching television, or treating yourself to your favorite movie. Of course, exercise is on that list. Turning on your music and dance, dance, dance. Enjoying an hour of silence. You can also get a pet or go to the animal shelter and just love on the dogs and cats. And one way of doing self-care practice is also taking care of other people. There's no better feeling than when you go to, say, a soup kitchen in your neighborhood or the Golden Age home and help to take care of others. Now, I have left a self-care plan for teachers. It is currently in the teacher development webinar group. I will leave that link down in my personal group for those who are watching and who would like to have that link. It is a self-care plan that helps you to fill out a template of how you're going to take care of yourself from now on, what your non-negotiables are, and what your yes list will be. So I hope that you can download it and follow the steps along. Now let us look at the key takeaways as we wrap up this session. Key takeaways include taking responsibility and developing a sense of agency in one's own well-being is central to productivity, wellness, and a sustained teaching career. Focusing on positive psychology strategies increases teachers' well-being and positively affects students' learning and attitudes in the classroom. And the last takeaway is student leaders should ensure that there is a robust library of social and emotional self-care resources embedded within their curriculum for teachers. Some reflection questions as we wrap up are, who am I really? What matters most in my life? Am I taking care of myself physically? What do I need to change about myself? So we're back. We're back to look at this picture that we started to begin with. And I wanted to get what you thought of the picture. I hope you've left the comments because I'm going to look at the comments when I'm finished. When I put this on my social media pages, I got quite a few responses. So I put some of the responses here for you to see. On Instagram, one person said, this picture let her think of drowning with work. Another one says, overwhelmed. The next one says, she reads a lot, therefore gaining a lot of knowledge. On LinkedIn, Donnie Q said, the clear water can represent purity, something good, maybe knowledge. So she is filling up on knowledge given to her by the books. Or the water would represent the stress of being a student. In this case, she would be up to her neck, like the idiom states. But questions in my head, why are the books underwater when water destroys books? Is she at home? Because a library usually does not allow eating or drinking. Why aren't the books and the other items floating? Interesting, right? Francine on LinkedIn said, this picture said to her, don't be drowned by the offerings of the world. Experience it. Choose. Take a stand. Regardless, your head must be above the water. Never ever believe in saying and doing nothing. Do something productive. Start moving out by developing strong roots, growing from below the water. It is very deep down there. Most definitely, there are various levels, so we will never know what the tide below is. So swim up. Be careful of the bends. These levels are packaged like bookshelves. Reach. See how best you can take with you your autobiography. I am waiting for you to give me your compiled story. Fabulous. I love that response from Francine. And the last one from Precious says, no matter how you feel like you are drowning in the pressures of life, keep your head high and keep pushing until you have reached life's goal. And that's exactly what I think it means. No matter what is drowning you, no matter the storms around you, still keep your head held high. And yes, it seems as if she's juggling while keeping her head high. She's doing all these things, but that's what life is all about. We have to juggle multiple things while keeping our sanity, while keeping our jobs and keeping our families intact. So this picture showed me how strong and how resilient this woman is.